Hello and welcome to the Responsive Family Sleep Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hawley, holistic sleep coach, lactation consultant, peaceful parenting educator, and mom. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting sleep info, frustrated with sleep information that just plain felt wrong, or searched desperately for a truly gentle and responsive sleep approach, then you are in the right place. In each episode, we'll be answering your most pressing baby and toddler sleep questions, busting those sleep myths, and helping you understand truly developmental, biologically normal baby and toddler sleep, plus encouraging you to trust your intuition along the way. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode on the podcast. We are going to do some myth busting today. And we're going to talk about this idea that sleep begets sleep, right? That it's always better to have more sleep, that more sleep will lead to more sleep, that more longer naps will get you better nighttime sleep. And I hear this a lot. I hear this said a lot when I'm teaching my newborn sleep class. I hear this a lot from clients. This idea that more sleep is always better. The problem is that more sleep is not always better, right? You only need so much sleep in 24 hours. Your baby or toddler only needs so much sleep in 24 hours. So if you're having trouble getting good sleep, right? Maybe your bedtime keeps drifting late and you have a hard time. You have to wake up in the morning because school, work, childcare, daycare, what have you. Or your little one isn't napping well at daycare. They're having really short naps. They're not getting enough sleep. They're really tired. Or they're uncomfortable laying down. So when you put them down for naps, they're getting these really short naps. Or they just don't nap well separate from you. And, they're not getting enough sleep, right? So in these situations, getting more sleep can help sleep overall. Getting adequate daytime rest, getting enough nighttime sleep, working towards getting their sleep needs met can help sleep be better quality. But what if your little one is actually already getting their sleep needs met, right? In that case, giving them more sleep opportunity or trying really hard to extend naps can actually undermine nighttime sleep, right? So if we're having a little one whose, let's say, sleep needs are average or below average, and you are constantly trying to get them enough sleep towards the high end of the range at a given age. So you're trying to get them more sleep than their body actually needs. It can lead to more fragmented sleep. And I see this a lot when people are really trying to strive towards that 12-hour night, which is, not what most babies and young children need. Or when they feel like every nap has to be an hour, or every nap has to be 90 minutes, or, their little one always needs these long naps, whatever the time is, and the little one doesn't, right? And we definitely don't need the 12-hour night and the multiple really long naps. And so we can aim for so much sleep, and then we actually start to have a little one that's waking more or sleeping more lightly because they don't need that much sleep. And I find this to be really true when we are actively manipulating the environment to make that sleep. So think about if you have blackout curtains overnight, and I'm not hating on blackout curtains or anything here. They can actually be really helpful. But if we are creating a really long environmental nighttime, and then we really dim the room for naps, which is not something I generally recommend. I generally recommend naps in daylight, softer daylight, not the sun shining bright in your eyes, but daylight. So if we're dimming the room for naps, and maybe we're holding a little one to get those really long naps, and we're swaying, and we're just creating a really drowsy environment for naps. And then we have blackout curtains to make this really long nighttime sleep. It's hard sometimes for a little's body to really fully wake up and be alert in those environments. So we get this kind of lighter, dozy, more fragmented sleep sometimes. And so the answer to if your baby needs more sleep is it depends, right? how much sleep does your little one actually need, and kind of teasing that out. And it can take some experimenting to do that, right? And so I think knowing the average sleep range at a given age is helpful. We can go through those in a moment. And then I also think checking with your gut. Does it seem like your little one has always needed a little less or a little bit more sleep, right, than average? And then in addition to that, experimenting, right? Like if we are not assuming that your little one always needs more sleep to get better quality sleep, what if we stop trying to extend naps? What if we start our day and at a regular time and we start letting light in the morning before our kids get up and we assume their nighttime sleep is average, right? How does that change their sleep quality? And so sometimes we just don't know these things until we start kind of messing around with them and just giving a little bit of shaping, a little bit of structure to their sleep. So, average sleep at given ages. For newborns, we expect somewhere in the realm of 14 to 17 hours of total sleep. It's across naps and nighttime. For our 3 to 6 month olds, we expect somewhere around 13 to 15 hours of total sleep. Again, naps and nighttime, right, for all of these. 6 to 12 months, we expect about 12 to 15 hours of total sleep. And then for our kiddos from between 1 and 3, we expect 11 to 14 hours of total sleep. Those are big ranges, right? And that's naps and nighttime. And so throughout most of that time, most kiddos' night is going to be somewhere in the 10 to 11 hours. For our younger babies in the first 6 months, that might look like, more like 9 to 10 hours. And for our newborns, of course, sleep is just all over the place. But if you have a low sleep needs kiddo, right, they might have a shorter night. You might have a 12-month-old who only needs 9.5 hours of nighttime sleep and 2 hours of naps. And so taking those averages, those average ranges, and looking at your kiddo and experimenting a bit can really help you tease out those sleep needs. So if your kiddo is not getting enough sleep, if you know their naps are really disruptive, they're not having conducive environments, then the answer to better sleep could be longer naps, right? Or an earlier bedtime so they can get a longer nighttime sleep, or a later morning wake up time so they can get more nighttime sleep, right? But if your kiddo does not need more sleep, then more sleep can actually make their sleep worse. And that's just what it comes down to, right? Again, we only need so much sleep in 24 hours. And sort of your current sleep situation guides whether less sleep maybe gets you better sleep versus more sleep gets you better sleep, because it can go either way and we have to look at the big picture. So I hope that gave you some food for thought, right? Next time you hear sleep begets sleep, just BS, not true, really simplifying an issue that's quite complex, or at least quite individualized. And it really does matter what your kiddo needs, where their sleep needs are currently, what their sleep totals are currently, and a matter of some experimentation. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode left you feeling more informed, confident, and encouraged on your sleep journey. And just a reminder before you go that nothing in this episode is individualized to your specific sleep situation, nor is it to be taken as medical advice. Take what resonates, ignore what doesn't, and check with your healthcare provider about any medical concerns. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll never miss an episode. And take a moment to rate, review, or share an episode you love on social media. All of that helps parents just like you find me, this podcast, and this gentle and responsive sleep information. I'll see you next time.